you also, you've probably seen, like you mentioned, like there's perfectionists out there that are trying to do everything right, and it's good. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's a good thing. Is the flow state, or the zone, as we call it, is it achievable on a consistent basis, or is that something that happens just by chance, or just by you feeling it that day and the stars align?
Yeah. So I love the question because it's something that gets debated so much in our field. And there are probably, numerous mental coaches out there that would tell you that they can help players, get into the zone pretty frequently, maybe all the time. I personally, I don't believe in that because, I've played, I watched a lot of players, I watched high level players, and by and large, I mean, even when you look at, like the Steph Currys of the world, it's not like they get into the zone every single night, or not even every other night, or every third night.
Yeah.
The reality is that basketball is a game of adversity. So yes, you can do things like the pregame routine, the breathing, the focus cues. Like you can do all those type of things to give yourself a better chance of getting into the zone.
Right.
But I would never ever plan on it going into a game. Like you got to learn how to win ugly as much as anything, and to not sustain your high level focus and make every shot throughout the duration of a game, but to learn how to refocus over and over and over again when adversity hits.
Yes, like you have to learn to dig yourself out of it when you fall into the pitch, right? Like that's I think that's the biggest challenge for a lot of athletes. And like you said, like not necessarily striving for the zone, because I think it happens, like you said, it happens as if you use all the tools necessary, and then it just comes into play in the situation because of the opponent, because the defense is, because you hit one shot, you hit another shot, and then just things just start rolling and you start feeling good about yourself. But when you're in a slump, shooters get into a slump. I've been into a slump when I was playing. I've seen players get into a slump all the time, and it's a mental thing, because you start playing around, mechanics here and there. What do you advise for the players? Like, look, relax, or do you go back to the fundamentals? What do you do when players fall into a slump?
Again, it depends on the individual player, I would say. So we got to see kind of what the root cause is. Is it overthinking? Is it maybe physical fatigue that can be addressed with better sleep patterns, perhaps? But oftentimes it's about helping the player direct their focus in ways that are more productive. So what happens is that sometimes when we're in a slump, we get too internal with our focus, and we start thinking about, am I bending my knees enough? Is my elbow in far enough? And we start experimenting in ways that are really not conducive to a high level performance in season. If you want to make tweaks to your form, that's something for the off season, most likely.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of players internalize their problems. They just eat the frustration, eats them from the inside out, and every miss becomes a bigger miss, and then just like a snowball effect takes place, and it can carry over to game, because it's naturally you start internalizing things, but that's when mental performance comes in and kind of puts things into perspective again.
Yeah, and that's where we can also bring in a lot of the motor learning and skill acquisition type of content. A lot of that is about how do you direct your visual focus, and like what type of cue do you even give yourself to execute a movement pattern. So think about the difference. Like when I'm in a slump, think about the difference between thinking, man, like bend your knees, keep your elbow in, you know what I mean? Like snap your wrist as you're going up into the shot, as opposed to shoot the ball to the target or pass the ball to the target. You know what I mean? Eyes on the rim, shoot it to the rim. Like having the external cue is way more beneficial to your body simply getting back to executing a movement that it's done over and over again. There's no need to interfere with it. We need to step out of our own way and just let the body do what it does by directing our focus appropriately.
Absolutely. I can't agree more with that. I think that there's like, personally, I keep referring to my, because I mean that's naturally what you refer to when you played. It was just the less of, obviously you cared about the shot. You know, it has to, like, the technique, everything, you practice 1,000 times, million times. But I found myself, the less I thought about, the less I cared. You know, care may be the wrong word because it kind of doesn't put enough weight on the shot. But the less I cared and thought about it, the better I've shot. And it was just like, just like you said, it was a natural shooting motion and flow, and you just kind of like, you find the flow in the game, and then
Right.
it just naturally, you feel more confident with that. So I think there's like less thinking is more. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
basically the experience.
I
Um,
think also, if I can, add this real quick, like just helping players get back to this idea of how can I be a game changer out there? How can I have an impact? So oftentimes when a player we have is dealing with a shooting slump, we don't even really spend much time talking about the shot. We get back to, all right, like let's assume you're going to shoot 0 for 10 again next game. How can you still have such an impact on the game that coach is going to keep you out there because you're bringing tremendous energy, you're clapping, you're engaging with teammates, you're locking up defensively. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden,
it's
before you know it, shots are starting to fall again because you're not so hyper focused on it.
Very good point. Very good point. That's Brad Stevens says that the game rewards toughness, and usually, when you play tough, when you play defense, you slide, you bend your knees, you play physical. The game will reward it, and you will, because for the shot you do need your legs, and you activate the legs through like taking focus away from the offense and focusing on a defensive end. Try to take charges, try to play hard, slide, try to get a stop, and then all of a sudden you're going to feel better about it. You're going to feel more physical. You're going to feel more crisp, and that's when the shots, I think, will drop again. I think that's that's the biggest difference maker there for players in game.